Hi everyone, it's Rax. The Diablo 4 Season 5 PTR just launched. I played it for about 7 straight hours, and I want to tell you what's good and bad about it. One thing I want to clarify one more time is this is the public test realm. It's a month ahead of the season. The reason why they host this is so they can make changes. A lot of people were very upset that they didn't like some of the things that Blizzard did, and that's totally fine. That's why we give feedback, and that's why we're here, essentially on the PTR. Let's get into it. So, what did I like about some of the changes that they've made? Well, there's new combat choices in the options menu, which are super nice. So down here, when you go to combat text options, you can check exactly what you want to see. Did you ever see that stupid vulnerable damage buff appearing everywhere and it just cluttered your screen? These new options are super nice. I love them. There's new codex icons. When you go in, it's much more beautiful now. They're actually using different colors. Can you imagine that? I thought the only color that Blizzard had was red, but now they have different colors, and it just makes the game look better. So that's nice. The new beam with the new UI, with the new sound for the mythics is very, very nice. They showed that in the PTR, how it's purple. There's a huge purple beam for it. It makes an awesome sound. That's really cool. The world bosses, there was a sneaky little patch note at the end where they said world bosses were more resilient. I was there with a quad mythic unique Giga Chad Barb. He had a Shaco, he had a Grandfather, he had Starless Guys, he had Tyraels, he had everything. And it took like 8 100s, a full minute to kill the world boss. And so people that don't have like characters that are that strong, it's actually much more of a fight now. So this is a nice change. I have no idea how hard the world bosses would be if you didn't have super strong characters. It might take the full 15 minutes. So it went from an instant one shot to a full 1 minute fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes going forward. A lot of people are reporting that using a lot of the Uber uniques now with Andariel, so a lot of the new builds actually works very well and synergize as well. So that's a nice change. The minion AI is significantly improved. So when you run around on your Necro now, I can also show you the beam here as well. The minions are noticeably much more aggressive. This is something that I had been absolutely begging for. It's interesting. We have the Seneschal thing that's no longer in the game, right? Could that be a hint that they might possibly be coming to the game? Let me also turn on the sound here, and while I'm here, I can show you the purple beam as well. Let's enable the sound. Let's turn it up a bit. Okay, let's go here. Let's drop an Uber unique on the ground. Watch this. So first of all, the UI is much better. Okay, watch this. Boom, right? So really cool, different look here. You can see it looks completely different from the legendaries. It's a nice little dopamine hit when it finally drops. Let's turn off the sound, and I want to show you the new minions. So what I kept saying about Diablo is I wish that Blizzard would massively buff minion AI to make them much more aggressive, because they're so stupid. They're always in the back. They're doing absolutely nothing. And I would even be willing to take a massive damage reduction if they would just fight. But now, as you go through and play it, it's actually significantly better. Okay, so let's just walk forward here, and you'll be able to see that, see how they're actually getting in there quickly now, whereas before, see them run ahead and hit that thing. They're actually borderline with me and aggressively fighting, and now the golem has a leap attack. So there he goes, he jumps on in, and you can see, look, my minions are actually ahead of me fighting. So that's a significant improvement. Necros will notice that, definitely. I'll make sure I'm not dead. It's my hardcore character. Okay. The boss resummoning, people tried it. They absolutely love it. Now you don't have to reset the instances all the time. The consolidated whispers. In the Helltide, they put a lot of the whispers right on top of each other. So you can actually get the 10 points and turn it into the tree. It feels a lot better. You can do it a lot faster. They did improve tempering. There's less choices on some of the manuals, so it's easier to hit what you want. There's new manuals, so you don't have to make a rogue to get your critical strike damage. There's more rolls on greater affix items, which kind of helps the problem. But I'm not stupid, guys. I know it still needs to be fixed. Additional work needs to be done. There's still hardly any control over our RNG with this. We still need help. You got no argument from me there, but it is better at least. Here's some general things I don't like. When you're boosting, you don't get the full codex of power. I spent 20 straight minutes boosting level 100 sorcerers and salvaging their gear to try to fill out my codex. They also don't give you the manuals. We need that as well. Then getting into the actual game, the re-rolling system is still far too brutal. I think this is one of the core problems with the game. They started me off with 250 million gold. I lost 170 million gold in 30 seconds. And all I wanted was to get 3 Chain Lightning on my gloves to try to play the new class, and I couldn't get it. It almost cost me all of my gold. And casuals maybe don't even make 170 million in a season. It's still a major, major problem. It's a problem in how much it costs, and it's also a problem for how impossible some of the affix weightings are. You just never get it. I'm sure people will post in the comments about their negative experiences with that. It's you got to take another look at it. They've already nerfed it like 2 or 3 times. I still think it's crazy. One thing about doing the quest to unlock the Infernal Hordes is the guy is so slow, man. I was 3 screens ahead, and then the quest mark icon would update behind me and be like, "Oh, come 3 screens back to do the quest." It's got to be redone, man. It's just so annoying, and it makes the cool RP lower part just feel terrible. Another thing is the class balance seems off. Like usual, barbarians seem to be destroying. I made the Chain Lightning Sorcerer. Admittedly, my sorcerer isn't perfect, but it doesn't seem anywhere near as good as a barb. People are saying druids are not performing very well. So I'm going to have to take a look at this in great detail and probably make another video. I can't figure it all out in 7 hours, but I'm going to test it for a full week and make a tier list or something, and we'll talk about that. Okay, now let's get into the most important thing, the Infernal Hordes. So the Infernal Hordes is the new game mode where you run through, you stand in the middle, and a bunch of things attack you, and they wanted feedback on it, so here we go. Let's start with the good things that work about it. You don't get your loot till the end, so you focus on killing. I like that. The density is really good sometimes. We'll get to that in a second. There are little mini events. They sometimes spawn Hellborns. They sometimes spawn Spires. Sometimes the Butcher spawns. Sometimes I think bosses spawn. That's cool. That makes it fun. It's a very quick activity. You can get it done in a few minutes. 10 minutes or less. And there are pauses in between waves. That'll be real good for the casual players, good for the dads. The baby wakes up crying. The dog just peed on the floor. You can do the end game activity while all that is happening. You can pause. It's a very small arena, so you don't have to move around too much. You're just battling. It's nice. They've got some cool bosses for the council. I liked them. The fact that you're making choices in between the waves and you get to choose your rewards at the end. The idea of that is cool, like a roguelite. And there are also like rare choices. I assume there's also potentially legendary choices. I didn't see any, but I'm assuming they're in there. You can port straight to it, and they give you a stash at the end of it, which is nice. So those are the good things. But now we need to start talking about the things that need improvement, and there's a couple pages of that. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the Boons and the Banes. I think this is probably the biggest problem with it. And if I could talk about this event high level, I think the number one piece of feedback that I saw people spamming in my chat, which I agree with, is the event is boring. It's just not fun. And that's the worst problem to have, right? If it's not fun, then everything else doesn't matter. So my feedback is going to be very, very directed toward making the event more fun. I think one of the biggest ways to do that is with the Boons and the Banes. A lot of the choices are so boring. For example, I'll show you here. I'm in this little event. Hellfire rains down upon you. That's one of the better options. It actually changes the environment and how you play. But at the end of each wave, spawn 1 to 3 Aether. These are the kinds of rewards that I wish that they would completely get rid of out of this event. What I would strongly prefer them to do is every single Boon and Bane should change the environment or something to do with the player, something like that, something engaging. rather than here's 3 more of the resource, or boring things like here's 10% more damage, or even movement speed. You think that that would be a good one, but the arena is very small and you don't move around much in the event. So even that is a boring choice. I think they need to make these way more ridiculous, way more engaging. I want you to manipulate the event so it's fun for everybody, the casuals, the pros. I'm not even talking about you adjusting the difficulty up or down. The difficulty is largely determined by the tier at which you plug. Tier 8 is actually very, very hard, and tier 1 is super free. Fine, that's good. You got everything in between. But I think we need to make it much more engaging and fun. So, what would be in it? Some of the engaging affixes that they do have, some of the boons, are like you get unlimited resources, or they could add you massively buff the density, or you have the ability to spawn Hellborns or the Butcher. You could do things with manipulating the timer, something that's actually changing what's going on. And then we sat there with the stream, and some of you guys might love these ideas. A couple of them you might hate, but giving us more cooldown, giving us more crit, which might trigger some of our legendary powers. More lucky hit, more attack speed, spawn the shrines, give us the holy bolt power, give us glass cannon, spawn goblins, give us global unique legendary powers like inner calm, which is you get more damage the longer you stand still. You don't move around much, so that would be a good one. Give us more size or AoE of our attacks. Give us cross-class skills like the corpses you create just explode with corpse explosion, even if you're not a necro or something. Or give us the fireball enchantment from sorcerers, where everything explodes with fire damage. Give us extra projectiles or thorns. The monsters hit you, they take 10% of your HP as damage to them or something. Spawn NPCs to help us. Tyrael, the Iron Wolves. Spawn the Butcher on our team for a change. Give us guaranteed overpowers. Our hits guaranteed to apply crowd controls. Any non-mobility spell that you cast twice. You throw a frozen orb, you instead throw 2. You have tempers that throw multiple chain lightnings. They throws 2 chain lightnings. Now it throws 4 of them. You know, crazy stuff like that. Drop pools of our damage type. Take inspiration from the new Hades game that came out. Anything. Something that really actually changes how our player plays all the time in these modes would make it way more fun than 3 more of the resource drops. Now, what about the Banes? These are all the buffs. Again, you could throw in some of the Nightmare Dungeon affixes. You could drain our life slowly. You could add super deadly monsters. Make the density way higher, although that might actually be a buff. You can add monster levels to them, plus 10 monster levels. You could throw the pit shades in there. You could darken our screen like old school Diablo 2 with no light radius. Actually changes the way that we play. You can make the floor collapse like Uber Lilith. People might hate that, but at least it's something. Spawn Tomb Lord, nullify our elixirs, disable our mobility skills. There's a million ideas. Like you could have a terrible Bane where you turn into a druid and do 17 damage, for example. I need the high arcing feedback, even if you don't want to introduce any of this directly. Everyone kept saying that it's boring. I need you to be much more brave and manipulate the entire encounter in a more severe way to make it fun. No one wants to stand there and just kill a couple of waves and get 3 extra Aethers at the end of it. I would love Blizzard to be much more creative here. So again, here are the boring ones that don't really work. Then, to compensate for losing all of these Aether bonuses, just give us more Aethers, just depending upon how much we fill the bars in between the waves. Bonus, you cleared this many waves like you already do with the cursed chests and the cursed shrines. Give us a bonus at the end. Just build it in naturally to the event. Now, for the actual Aether and the rewards, I didn't hear a single person that felt that they were adequate. Now, I'm guessing that they ramp up as you go to tier 8, but tier 3 already, what I was mostly playing, is already monster level 100, and 90% of people are never going to get past tier 3. The most I was able to get in a single run was 69, hilariously enough, And the Greater Affix chest costs 250. So I wasn't even in the dimension of spawning one of the best chests. And the Aether doesn't carry over. When you leave, it resets. So you can never open the best chest. You can open some of the material things, but the material chest is missing things like Death's Breath or Angel's Breath, which is one of the most important resources in the game. So it doesn't even have that. And so I did an experiment. I spent all 69 on the gold chest, and it gave me less than 3 million gold. So the best performance I ever had was worth less than 3 million. And that's when I spent it all on gold. Usually people wouldn't do that. They would buy items, probably. So I think the rewards here, at least in the early game, and the rewards offered need an adjustment. Another problem with it is it's very, very hard to even run these things. You have to run Nightmare Dungeons. Someone full cleared a Nightmare Dungeon 100, the highest here, and didn't even get a compass to go into the event. Also, in Helltide, you have to essentially get enough cinders to open the mystery chest to get a compass. And even then, I'm not sure that it's guaranteed. I got one when I opened the mystery chest, but someone said that they opened it and they didn't. So it might not even be a guaranteed drop. The ability to even engage with the season activity is not there. It needs to be much easier to get into the event, and it needs to be easier to use the scrolls, which are also very rare. Another thing that would make the event more fun, at least in the lower tiers, maybe it's solved in the higher tiers, is there just isn't much density. I'm standing there, and a bunch of monsters spawn. I throw a couple chain lightnings. It wipes out the entire room, and then I'm waiting for like 3 seconds for like the next wave to spawn. I need the game to dynamically understand when I've killed the monsters, spawn me some more monsters. Like, let me be very engaged with the activity. It's going to be a lot more fun when I'm actually standing there waiting for monsters to spawn in our new endgame seasonal activity. That is a big feels bad moment. Another thing, maybe there's a reason for this. We couldn't think of, myself in chat couldn't really think of one, but when you're done with all the waves, you have to walk up a bridge into another room to fight the council members to finish the event. Why? Why don't the council members just spawn where I am? What's the point of walking all the way up there? Even at the minimum, at least make the bridge like way shorter. Like, just let me walk 2 steps and be in the next room if they must be in a different room, like programming wise. But I really don't understand. On the second try already, when I was walking across the bridge going to the next thing, I was already asking myself, why? Like, why am I doing this? It's just, again, some wasted time for seemingly no reward. When you kill the bosses to finish the thing to open the chest, they don't drop anything. This is a literal statement. They don't drop anything. Why not? I get it. Currently, the bosses let you finish the event to open the chest, but the fact that they drop nothing feels bad. They could do special waves where it summons all bosses, or the butcher is there, by the way. You could spawn goblins or cows or a row of two. I think Tomb Lord is actually a thing. Diablo, but we'll never get that one. And there are little mini events that the Infernal Horde spawns. It spawns a spire where if you need to stand in it and then kill the enemies while you're standing in it. I like that. It's much better than the other event that they have where the enemies have to come in. So I like stuff like that, and they spawn sometimes like Hellborns or much stronger monsters. I need them to double down on this and make more mini events and have them more often. These are some of the things that made the whole thing fun. So, in general, I think Season 5, in a lot of ways, is actually moving the game in a better direction. In general, Diablo 4 is continuing to get better, and I think it will be better after they have gathered all the feedback and some of the changes that they can make. The number one thing for Infernal Hordes, if I can only say one thing, is fun. You're not letting me get in there. It's very rare to even find these compasses. It's actually very difficult. And After only doing it a few times, I felt like I was just standing still in a room waiting for monsters to spawn, and the choices that I made with the Boons and the Banes were not that impactful and didn't really change my gameplay at all. And that's what I was really looking for. So, fun. Be crazy with your ideas, and I think it will go a long way. It's okay because this is the PTR. They have a month to gather feedback. They made a lot of nice changes from the Season 4 PTR to Season 4's launch. Maybe they can do it again. This is my feedback on day one. I will continue to play a ton of hours on the PTR, and I'll try to figure out as much things as I possibly can. And let's try to make Season 5 the best that we can.